Hello, legends and super legend. Welcome to Veloharmony's premiere of the last group ride we had. Let's go ahead and get rolling. Morning, legends. We're rolling out. It's a warm, muggy morning. Got the rear light going. Put on the front light. Later on in the day, I'll turn that front light off. Right now it's a bit overcast. I got out to the yard yesterday.
Huh?
I did the yard yesterday.
Yeah, I did too. It's nice.
Yeah. Even though it says 22 Celsius, it's a muggy 22 Celsius. Just a sticky, steamy day. So I'm wearing a light jersey. On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We were running a little behind schedule. We went and took the most direct route through Sterling Ridge. When we got out there, we hooked up with Jerry. We chased down a group that we saw. Ended up being Paul H's group. We rode with them into Honier. All of that is on film. Once we got into Honier, they continued past Taco Corner. We went on across the lake. That's off camera. We stopped at the boathouse there. Then we continued on Highway 830 East, and that's on camera. And that was the last clip we got. But the ride was very, very good. It was a good conditioning ride. We came back through Navajo, back on Fish Creek at a good clip. And so we ended up with about 130-something kilometers, pretty close to 80-something miles, I believe. I hope you enjoy the clips we got for you.
All right, legends, we're running late. We picked up Jerry. We're chasing.
Yeah, we had met Jerry as we passed the area where he lived. He was rolling out. He's running behind as well. So we decided to pour it on and see who we could pick up.
I saw bike lights up there. Yeah, so did I. It's a group. Saw a lot of flashing reds. I know we can catch them.
So as we approach this intersection on Alden Bridge, the light changes right away. I told Paul, let's go. Let's tighten it up. So if I'm pedaling in the 200 watt range, that means Jerry is doing at least 3 something since he's in the front. Because we're chasing here. But you can see the benefits of the draft. I can sit on this wheel at 170, 200 watts. Then when it's time for me to get to the front, then I can go 350 or more. So we're basically focused on picking up a group to ride into Honier. We don't know who's gonna be out there because it's about at 7:30. Team RR is already gone, and then we found out WCC had left at 7:15. They changed their departure time because of the heat, probably. So we don't know who's out here. But we had seen some lights in the distance. I'm dodging that hole that just, it's not that bad of a hole, but it just popped up. And in a little bit we spot them, they're caught at the light. So I was like, okay, good, we don't have to work as hard for as long. So we'll go ahead and just get to that light because they're standing there at the intersection ahead.
I've already downshifted. I'm ready. I'm ready to
As
kick
we
it.
approach the light changes, we just kind of blend into the group. Paul goes to the right here with the camera. I'm on the left.
I'm in the right gear.
And
I've
I
already
use
moved
the
up the
road.
road.
He gets a little crowded here by this guy moving over, so he moves over on the shoulder. So when you're riding in the group, you can't just be moving. You gotta be aware. He should have stayed on the road. He was trying to get to the shoulder, but Paul was on his right.
That's our
So in a little bit, Paul
kamikaze
will
rider
get
here
on
with
the
the
road.
yellow bottle. You will see later in the film.
This shoulder is
he's
fine.
always taking
I use
risks.
this shoulder when I come out here solo during the week. I use the shoulder. But when we're in a group, there's that many of us, you can use the road. Like we're doing in combination with the shoulder.
This is the other group from the Starbucks. Ah, okay. Yeah, I see. Group.
So what I'm letting Paul know here is that this group is Paul H's group. Paul H had gotten hit by a car in January. He's recovered, and he's in the front on the right. I could tell by just his form. There's a rider in that light blue, and at the bottom it looks kind of black. That's Paul H. Paul H is in his 70s, and he still puts down the hurt. So cycling is a lifetime sport.
Up there on the right.
No excuses.
Yeah.
That's why I just told Paul. I said, I see Paul H up there, so I'm going to ride up. And then Dan will call. Dan Jaworski is on the right in the green helmet, green shoes, and green bar tape. He's going to call out to me, but I didn't hear him. I hear him on the camera because the camera picked him up. But I went up there to mess with Paul H. So right up there as I ride, Dan calls out to me.
Hey, Paul. Welcome, my brother. We got a storm brewing outside.
That's Paul H on the right in the blue.
Robert Tangler, welcome.
It's good to see him out riding, man. You know, he had hurt his wrist, his ribs, you know, his shoulder. And it's tough to heal from this, you know, from some of these falls. But, you know, being in shape, and he's a tough guy, so it's good to see him back.
This is a good shot, my
It's a
brother.
good shot
I like
here,
this
Paul
shot.
got. This guy's name is Tim.
Nobody's
in the red
posing right
jersey
now.
and the red bike. I got to meet him for the first time officially on this ride. We'd ridden with
That's
him
my
before,
Mexican
according
cook.
to Paul.
This is the real
Paulie Long, I said
Coca-Cola.
we'd ridden with him,
That
but I
stuff
didn't
in a can.
remember him. So it was good to get to meet them. So that was Dan in the green calling out to me as I rolled by. I didn't hear him. But later on, we'll chat on the road.
Yeah, some of your shots, they were posing for it. That's why I like that shot. That's a sneaky shot. They can't see what you're
So
doing.
they cut through this parking lot.
Because you took a shot on Mary, you'll see she waves, all of that.
Where'd you get a car?
We usually go to the corner.
Bunch of lawbreakers here cutting the corner. It was a very
I
humid day,
titled
guys.
this Steady Paceline Riding because it is a different kind of riding. And there are times when it's good to work on your conditioning as far as maintaining consistent effort. That all adds to Paul, we're a bunch of homeless riders catching groups every week.
Yeah.
We don't belong to any particular village. Bunch of roamers.
Good change. Yeah. Company. Take us in the movie.
Yeah, this is a cool group to ride with.
Really?
They used to ride. They still ride from time to time with the Team IR guys, but they're starting from an area closer to where Paul H lives. He's moved on the western side of the Woodlands area.
That's where they left from.
So they leave from the Starbucks. Those of you who have followed these videos, we had visited that start in the winter when Paul H had gotten injured.
There's a car back. Yeah.
So we have a lot of different groups. We have the Sun and Ski group who you will see pass us in about probably 15 kilometers. So we have a group that leaves from the Whole Foods. That's the Sun and Ski group. Then we have the WCC. That's Paul Edge going to push that signal, the pedestrian crossing signal, to make sure we get a green light here. I told Paul, I said the air is thick. It's just very humid. But once you're moving, you got a bit of breeze. That's one thing good about cycling versus running. You generate, a lot of airflow, which makes a difference. We're on the open road.
Just a little something.
A little something. The FM 2978 Fish Creek Thoroughfare. This part of it, I think, is called Sandera.
Yeah, I got the side profile when we're going.
This is a good road in our area for cycling because for 10 miles, it's just going up. It's just a grade. So you're just grinding if you're going north.
I was explaining to Paul that the GoPro connector on the handle that we're using, I changed it and used a longer one that gives us better balance of the camera. If you look at the shot, it's more squared off, so the camera's not tilting, so we don't get the Dutch angles that we used to. But it also allows me to leave it a little looser, so if he wants to film from the drops, he can change the angle of the camera. I was explaining to him that even though it's easier to flip the camera, it's not going to fall off.
Yeah.
Right there, we hit a nice patch of breeze. It was cool. So we had little patches of really cool air as we would drive out. It was hard to really figure out when you get
like
it,
a
but
Greg. Yes, I knew.
It is great.
The last time we saw Mike, now look at his cassette.
Yeah.
Paul's talking about Greg. Greg Shaw has a new cassette. That's the only time that cassettes
Greg
are
has
clean.
a new cassette on his bike. It's got a large rear, low gear. Almost looks like a 34, 32 something.
So when you see a clean cassette, chances are it's new. A lot of these guys, it's just right. They don't have time to mess around. So Paul spotted it. Paul and I sit down sometimes and we just take the wheel off the bike and like floss it. We keep our cassettes
This group has,
free of
like
debris.
most groups, varying fitness levels. And as we ride, this is early in the ride, so we're just kind of sitting in here. You'll see a bunch of people in the back talking and chatting and so forth. And that's fine, but if you're riding in a group where the pace feels like you're working, don't sit at the front early on. Don't pull, sit in, especially on a long day. This group was planning on doing about 65 to 70 miles, so about 120 kilometers was their goal. So that's a good long ride. So the first hour or so, you want to save your energy as much as possible and save it for later. I was telling Paul that I just turned off my front light, and he said he never turned his on. So it's a clear day, and you're in the group. Save those. I like to save them for when I'm riding solo, or when it's very early when we start the ride. When it's overcast, I run both lights, front and back, the entire ride.
Those carbon wheels that sound like jet engines when you brake on them.
Every time you see me move to the left,
I check the mirror before I do that, make sure the road's clear.
So you see how we're straddling the white line? We're trying to use no more than half of the lane. And that way we have
Jerry
enough buffer
Dan
as those cars
having a
pass. We're not
conversation.
close to that middle line.
There's always different levels of fitness, as I said earlier. So right now what they're doing is just kind of visiting, catching up. And then when the riding heats up, they'll go to the front. You know, even later there's a group, the Sun and Ski group passes us. They chase them down and rode into Honia with them. Then when we came by, they joined back up with us. Or sometimes they would sit at the front and pull longer. And that's what I will do on this ride, is spend more time at the front so I can get my work in, but while keeping the group together by keeping that effort steady. You'll see that as we go into the Honia area on Ribbon Chapel Road.
It was actually a very pleasant day, just a little sticky and steamy. You know, you even see like my bottle will fall in a few kilometers when we get to Montgomery. You're damp and wet, so we did a lot of drinking on
my
this
heart
ride.
rate, 137. That's zone 1, and we're doing what? Almost 19 miles per hour. About 20. So 20 miles an hour. I'm in zone 1, creeping into zone 2. So you have that's another reason I say that all the time. Don't train to speed. Makes no sense. You can't. There's no way you can train to speed. It's not a training metric. Speed is only for that moment in time what the environment gives you based on the effort you're putting out. So you can only replicate effort consistently.
That's another nice view.
It's a nice view here. That's Maurice on the right. What's the name of the guy on the left? That's not Tim.
That's Michael in the back,
Who's behind
our
Maurice.
craziest rider.
So we're riding steadily. There is a rider, I got to meet, his name is Mike. You'll see him when he pulls off. He's the one pulling right now. He's sitting at the front. He's been there for a while. He's sitting at the front and we're pulling around 18 to 20 miles per hour up this grade. We've got a slight till and till cross. But this allows this group with the varying skills to fully warm up. People are easing into the ride. It's not a very aggressive ride at this point. And the entire ride ended up being a nice, long, steady conditioning ride. It wasn't easy, but you got a good workout. And the pace, we didn't change the pace much. We kept it consistent. That's Maurice. He went past Paul there. So that's Maurice on the left, Jerry in the middle, and Dan on the right. And as you can see, this pace is easy for these guys. They're chatting, you know, they're in the Paceline, they're benefiting from the draft.
Yeah, the two guys on the right
everybody
are
in this
hammerheads.
Paceline finds it easy. You can see the guys at the front have a straight line. They're not spread out. The guy in the Australian jersey there, I think that's their national colors. He's sliding back. He just got off the front.
That's the national team jersey.
And he's wearing the long socks and the arm screens, and he's got like sunblock on him. I was asking about it later in the ride, and he told me that he has had skin cancer in the past, and so he's making sure to protect his skin. And there are some riders that are just sensitive to the sun. You don't have to. That's Dan coming up to say hi. You don't have to have had skin cancer to do that. A lot of riders that burn easily or just sensitive. I wear a bandana because my scalp started getting blotchy after getting exposed to a lot of sunshine. I mean, it's not anything physically bothering me, but I was told to just cover my head wherever possible when I'm out in the sun. So even when I do the yard, I wear a hat, those wide brim caps, or even the John Deere just baseball type caps to keep the sun off my head. So if you're sensitive to the sun, they have arm screens that are really lightweight. I recommend you get the lighter colors. I mean, some people get them in darker colors, probably okay, but the lighter colors and lightweight, I have a pair that I wear from time to time. But cover yourself, protect your skin, even your legs, because your legs do get a lot of sun, even though they're moving. Your neck, your face. So I wear that bandana, or I wear a lightweight cycling cap made out of polyester elastane, like our jerseys, that breathes really well. I stay in a large gear here. As we go up this climb, I don't downshift. I just want to work my legs. So we're just talking, Dan and I are talking. So right now I'm in zone 2. So for us, this is not very hard at this point. But don't get me wrong, even though we're riding, I'm in zone 2, you're still working. That's the thing about cycling. If you ride 6 hours in zone 2, you get tired. So don't think you have to ride intensively all the time. That's why I always say you have to have a program.
We're going to where we went last week, Longmire.
Yeah.
Remember that road? Once
Yeah.
you go through that neighborhood?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going through the neighborhood, but that's where they head.
Okay.
I got that information while I was talking with Dan. He was telling me they plan on going on a road called Longmire Road, which is near the lake area. And as I was telling Paul, we went there last week. They end up taking a circuitous route this week to get there. They went by Taco Corner. They didn't stop at Taco Corner. And then they headed east. That's off camera until we get to the FM 830 out there. Then we filmed. That's Mary's new bike. She got a new frame.
I'm wearing my oldest Asos short, and it's my favorite. It has the longest leg length. I don't know what they're doing with the new ones. They're shortening them. That's the Uno. That's like their base model from years ago. And I love the fit.
Nice color.
I've got a large gear. I'm working it.
All over it. It's just got the Cervelo on the down tube.
Mary's new bike.
Yeah. Oh.
What she was saying is the color is similar to the loaner bike she had for several months. They took so long to get her frame that the shop gave her a loaner bike to use.
Mary doesn't like to shift, but she has electronic shift
effort to keep her happy. So she finally got her frame.
She rides a huge gear all the time. She's always getting gapped. She got electronic shifting and doesn't like shifting. It's a nice bike. I love the color scheme.
Mary. See, Mary covers her arms also with arm screens. Because she's a very fair complexion person. So she's probably trying to keep that sun
Yeah, Mary burns easily.
off of her as much as possible. And then she wears sunblock. She even takes sunblock with her in her kit, her essentials kit. And at the stop, she reapplies it. I use SPF 30. It's sunblock for people that work out. I like that it's not runny or anything, and you don't feel like you got this heavy thing on your skin. So it's lightweight, cocoa butter.
I don't put any on my legs. I've never had any problems with my legs. It's my arms and my head for the most part. The road goes up slightly here, so you can see me applying a little more pressure. We climbed this hill differently this week. It was weird. We started easily and then at the top started going really hard. So it was odd. Different every week. The overpass, not this one. You will find that when the effort is lower, what I personally try to do is keep the gear a little heavier so I can kind of work my legs more and not have to be concerned with the fact that we're going slower than I normally go, or in a less intensive zone than I wanted to be in. But then once I do start to work, my cadence just goes up. And that's true for most experienced riders. When they're working, cadence becomes important, because the watts will affect your legs differently in the higher zones. If you have a very low cadence, it puts more strain on your legs. You can see the watts going up. You see my cadence automatically went up. You don't have to think about it. That's just mechanically efficient. There's nothing macho about straining in a huge gear that you can barely turn over. In a kilometer or so, we'll be informed that we're turning left. We did not expect to turn left. Based on my conversation with Dan, who's in front of me there, he had been informed that we're going to go to Longmire Road, which usually we'll go straight here on McCaleb Road, all the way down to 105, and then we turn right and go east. But on this day, they decided to go northwesterly and then go east on 1097. But he was not privy to that. They just told him, we're going to go Longmire Road. So he's like, oh, okay. We all know how to get to
Glen Rock and
Road.
Tanglebush. I was out there this morning. I went out to, what do you call it? Right past Crust Pizza. Out to Alden Bridge, Terramount Park.
So Jerry does a lot more
but I
than
cut on
what
the
you
backside
see
of
with this group.
Tanglebush.
Usually he will hook up with the group
trail
to have some company
to get out there.
Once we're done riding or during
went
the
out for
riding,
an
might
hour or
deviate
so.
and add more kilometers.
It was
to
nice
his
this
route.
morning. It wasn't too bad.
You know, he rides around 400 kilometers a week, thereabouts.
I like that area.
That's just what
Paul
he
and I have
does.
been going out there. They got some nice
So he
little
hooks up with
loops
the group to help
in the neighborhoods
for
south of
camaraderie, socializing, passing the time.
What
But when
Glenlock
he's ready to
hits,
do like the KOMs that he's interested in, what he does is he lets the
one of
group
those
go
major
ahead. Then he does the KOM, which brings him
the
back
final
to the group.
stop sign before it
'Cause he
dead
goes
ends.
pretty fast.
Paul and I go back in there.
So he incorporates his workout into these group
Sawdust, past south of Sawdust. We go back in that neighborhood and
So
do
in
loops
a little bit,
got
a
some little
group will
bumps.
come by, the Sun and Ski group, and he and Dan will join them.
Via Taco.
Yeah, Paul just
Yeah,
told me
what
they're
Paul
going
is saying
via
is
Taco.
we just found out that we're turning left. Paul H is at the front, and he's controlling the route on this ride. And so he said we're turning left. So I said, I guess we're not going to Longmire. And Paul says, no, we're going via Taco. That's why he was laughing. At this point, I thought they had scrapped going to Longmire, but then in about probably 10 kilometers or so, one of the riders in the group, his name is Doug, he tells me that, oh yeah, we are going to Longmire, but we're going via 1097 East. sitting
So
in a
as we
large
ride
gear
here, I'm
here.
in zone 1 and just kind of riding along. I'm not paying attention to cadence or anything, just turning gear I'm in. You see me standing a little bit. I want to stay in that same big gear and work my legs. That's why I did that. You see the watts go up. I stayed behind Paul H. I stood over there because there were ripples in the pavement. Whenever there are uneven surfaces, take the weight off. Once again, I did that. But I'm looking around Paul H. I can see the surface and what's coming up. A lot of these roads, you know, secondary, third.
We got thunder and lightning
category
going on.
roads.
I think more
They're not
thunder than
kept
lightning.
up
It's rumbling
like the
on
main highways, which is fine because there's not a lot of traffic on here. These are residential roads, albeit rural, but they tend to get chopped up over time.
Look at my
So you gotta
profile
pay attention.
versus the guy on the left or Paul is that's in front of me or even Dan. You see how much lower I sit? Takes less effort to cut through the wind like that. I don't know why
The
riders
road
sit
goes
very
up
high.
for the last kilometer or so.
So as I go faster, I
headed
just
up
lower
to
myself.
Ribbon
I
Chapel
don't have to
Road.
work that hard.
Right before we get there, the Sun and Ski boys zip by us, and then Dan and Jerry latch onto them.
Got you, Robert. Yeah. I go
That's
past
when I
Sawdust.
decide
I
to
go
go
in
to
that
the
area.
front
Once
in
you
this
pass
group and
Sawdust,
keep
it's
the
quiet.
pace.
There's nothing back there.
Hard but steady.
I study the area and the map. You can do some loops in there. They're nice. It's nice and quiet. You don't want to stop too much because Spring Creek runs back there. There's a lot of mosquitoes back there. We stopped one time and they were chasing us. This is where these boys.
There they
Yeah,
are.
that's
the
the
Sun and
Sun
Ski
and Ski
guys.
boys. A few of them. They probably
small
broke up.
subsection of them. I'm sure they've split up on the highway.
I'm surprised Jerry didn't go after him.
Mary's a prophet. So she said that. Jerry takes off.
Oh, we know. We know. I already said
That's
there's
Jerry. Jerry and Dan. That's Dan in front of Jerry. They
Dan's up
decided
front.
to go. That's what Mary
They're
said.
going.
I'm surprised Jerry didn't go after him. So Jerry's gonna ride with them until they get to Taco Corner. That's their destination. That group goes to Taco Corner usually and comes back. But this week we saw them go into the forest. So
Jerry had to stress out.
So at this point, nobody's really.
Things never change.
It's true.
And some things do.
Those comments, Mary.
Nobody's really wanting to
used.
come to the front.
I heard in the
I can
Matrix,
see those guys in the
Revolutions.
distance there. I decided, okay, I'm just gonna keep a steady but hard tempo, and you can see my cadence now because I decided to ride here just to keep the group together, but make sure people are working.
Yeah, we're kind
This is the
of
way Paul and I
messing
ride.
around.
And he instinctively saw that, so he just went ahead and got on my wheel.
This is how we ride. Get it up to sweet spot.
This is a
sit
slight
there.
grade. Most of this until we get to the stop sign about 2 kilometers down the road. Then Ribbon Chapel Hill pops up. It's
I'm
about
just
3.5%,
gonna edge the
4%.
effort up gradually so people can settle in.
So I'm
You don't
keeping
shock
my
the
cadence
system.
up, which allows me to deal with the changes and the undulations, the slight grades, and then the wind, but keep it steady. I'm really not looking at power. I'm not looking at heart rate either. All I'm doing is I'm making sure that I keep the effort by feel. I keep my eye on the group by looking in my mirror, making sure everybody's together as I ride. And I start to edge towards sweet spot.
Right here, I'm at sweet spot.
I can tell by feel because my breathing really has not changed. I'm nowhere near threshold or anything. But if I go that hard, the group would split up. So I keep it right around sweet spot.
My threshold is 181 beats per minute. That's why my
This
breathing
is a
starts changing.
good work zone. You get a lot of benefit from training near sweet spot. More bang for the buck, so to speak.
And you don't have to be exactly on a particular heart rate number, or you just need to be in that area, that region, that range. You'll get the benefits. And you need
This
to
whole
stay there
stretch, the road
long
continues
enough.
to go up. It undulates. The wind's picking up. We're exposed right there.
But by keeping the effort steady, people can stay there longer. That's when the fitness benefits kick in.
And after the stop sign, there's a grade as you go through the intersection. This guy just passes and then rolls that stop sign. Then they want to complain about cyclists. So we check, nothing's coming. There's a dead end on the left. So even if you're familiar with the area, I mean, he's lucky there were no officers around. He would have been pulled over. You can't just roll through there like that at speed, like he's on a race course.
I'm looking in the mirror here because this is a slight bump before we get towards
So you
that.
see the hill in the distance. Well, as you approach or climb, you don't want to shift down too early. Like right here, you need to still keep your rhythm the same for this part of the road that is somewhat flat to slightly downhill. Then once you get to the climb, as you get into the climb, then you start finding the appropriate gear. Some riders shift down too early and start spinning like hamsters, and then when you get up there, you're all out of breath because you've been wasting energy spinning your legs. See, my cadence will stay relatively close because I continue to downshift because I want to keep the group together. I want to keep it steady. To keep it steady, I have to downshift as the grade increases. Otherwise, I would end up putting so much more power into the bike.
I don't want to go anywhere near 500 watts. That would be too hard for the group. So I'm staying around.
Because I
3 to 4.
downshift, I keep it went over 400 a little bit, but it's mostly 350 thereabouts. I'm looking to check. I check, make sure everybody's there. Everybody's in a tight line. So right here, the hill's over. I usually shift up, bring my cadence down a little bit because the road starts to go downhill. I don't want to freewheel. I want to keep my legs turning.
You want to keep turning and get the lactate out of your
and
legs.
It keeps your rhythm consistent.
I don't like freewheeling. Keep your legs moving. You actually recover better than to stop your pedaling. It may seem counterintuitive, but that's the proper way. Keep your rhythm the same. The road goes back up. I continue to find the gear that feels
It's a second little bump,
right.
kind of like a sprinter's bump. It's short and not as steep. I'll go ahead and take a drink. Drink before you're thirsty.
You notice I'm pedaling the whole time I'm drinking.
Whenever you're on the
You gotta
bike.
practice that. You don't need to
All
stop.
year long, not just in the summer. As I enter the corner, I downshift. I pull over to the right. Paul comes through. He hands me the camera. And somebody said, thanks. I think he was going to come through. So I just got on Paul's wheel just for a bit. He was going to come through. I should have let him come through. But I don't like to see gaps. He had let a gap open, I guess, on Paul. So I filled the gap for a bit, and in a little bit I will pull off to the right. It's very muggy. You can see the perspiration on my arms. It was so muggy that in the 4th hour, my socks were down. I was perspiring so much. Paul said he could see perspiration running down my legs when we stopped at the boathouse. I didn't notice it until we left the boathouse, and then I felt that my socks were soggy. That's Doug. Doug said good job. It was nice and steady.
it keeps the group together. Everybody gets to work. So what I was saying was that I drank a lot on this ride, just to counteract the effects of the conditions. It's very humid. Everybody drank a lot. Every time we stopped, people would buy the water in a gallon container at the stores. It's already chilled, and so we all share it. You put it down. We never use all of it. You put it down, and people fill their bottles, and there's always some left. Then we cover it up and leave it by the door of the stores. So if another cyclist comes, he'll know we've been there. You'll always see gallons of water sitting outside those store doors, and a cyclist leave. If I don't know who's purchased the water or whatever, I probably will just take those ones when we get there and pour it over my head, pour it on my back, because being wet, once you get on the bike, that evaporative cooling kicks in. It's nice. So it said 23C, but it felt like 28. Not
We're close to the turn.
humid, but humid.
There's a car back, but we're close to the turn.
Once you're moving
and
on
he's
the bike,
patient.
you generate your own little airflow. Makes a big difference.
Let him
There's a car
overturn.
behind us, but he's waiting. We're going to be turning left. This is Mill Rock, I believe.
I got to meet this guy, this ride. That's Tim on the right in the
So
red.
we wait for the car that's coming. There's a car up in the distance that's coming by. Once he clears, then we go. That hole's been there for a while.
Almost been there at least almost a year.
Patch the road a lot of times. These roads are neglected. They're not major roads. I give Paul the camera back here.
That was a nice handoff, my brother, with that camera when I went around that curve. That was slick. The guys in the group look at us like we're nuts. Filming.
These kind of rides really help your conditioning, where you're not killing yourself necessarily, but you're getting a good workout for an effective duration. I like the way this group was riding here on Mill Route. If you notice, we're all using just one side of the road because the roads are narrow. And then sometimes when we come through here, because it's so quiet, some of the groups tend to spread out.
There's a 4% bump here.
That's okay if no one else is using the road, the other road users. But then you have to make sure you close up when you see them and share the road.
Car up.
See how everybody's line in a nice straight line. That's good. It doesn't need to be a perfectly straight line. We just need to use your side of the road. That's the main reason why you'll see us riding some people over to the right of the white line, and then somebody's just to the left of the white line when they're talking. So we're still using just a portion of that lane, which allows more space between us and the other lane. Our vehicles are vulnerable, so you don't want to be next to the stripe, the little dash stripes between the two lanes, longer than necessary on an open road. So when they're passing, you're nowhere near them. You have at least 3 feet between yourself, even though you're using the lane. I only use the lane when I ride solo, when it is not safe for them to pass me in my lane. I position myself and I signal and let them know my intention of using this lane. And then once it's safe, I give them a little more room so they can go by. Kind of like when you and your mate riding and then a car comes up behind you. Close it up, let them go by, and then you spread back out and chat. It's just nice to show that consideration, let's put it that way. You are not required by law, but we're social animals, so it's nice to be able to at least show the other road users that you're not here to block them unnecessarily. That's not your reason for getting on your bike. I think Mike is at the front, the gentleman who's wearing that white jersey with the Australian colors on it.
It starts to go up here. You can feel it more than anything.
That's Tim, the guy I got to meet on this ride officially. He's on the right. And that's Paul H in front of us. Paul H is one of the hard men of the group.
Paul H puts down the hurt.
He's riding a new frame because he had to total his other frame after that incident in January. He stayed with the same brand, Savello, just got a different color. It was a white frame, this one's black. Maurice on the right there.
This is a slight downhill. Let's see, it says -2. Yeah, we're rolling to the corner.
I noticed a lull in the pace here. I mean, we're not going hard or anything, but a lot of times the group just kind of get a little lackadaisical. So I just roll to the front. I'm checking for traffic to the left, and I let them know that it's clear. And Mary confirms it. When I turn, I back off the power a bit. You can see my cadence is like, I'm soft pedaling to make sure everybody gets in a line as we head towards Montgomery, Texas.
This
road
heavily
is another
traveled
ninja
road by
grade,
cyclists.
falls flat, whatever you call it. It's going up, but you can't see it. See that it says 1%, and it's exposed. So you always have wind, and then it goes up, and then it kicks up to like 2.5 before you start the long downhill to Highway 105.
This is a good highway to do like time trial training, because you.
So I'm at the front right now, just pulling along, keeping the pace high. Now, I'm in zone 2 right now. It will probably creep up to sweet spot. So then the people behind me are probably in, some of them maybe zone 1, some of them zone 2, and the ones that are maybe out of shape will probably be working harder than that. But by keeping it steady, they find a rhythm. It's the jumps that break things up. You can see my heart rate is creeping up. So I'll probably get in the sweet spot by the time we're done. But I'm sitting up and just pulling. Look at the speed. It is steady. It's gonna stay between 20 miles an hour, thereabout. Probably 18 to 20. I don't remember what it was, but I just kept it by feel. I just kept it steady so people can find an effort. See Tim lower himself. The wind is here. We got a dub, but you can hear it. But this is the kind of ride you need when you have been off for a while, or you're not training consistently because of work and other obligations. You want to get a good workout, but steady. Now I'm at the bottom of zone 4. This road is going up more and more. There will be a curve to where it will turn slightly to the right. It goes up even more. But whenever I come down here solo on this road, I always make sure I'm at least doing sweet spot, so I can make the most of my cycling time. It helps everybody, even if it's hard, when the pace is steady, they at least know what to expect. They're not going to be dealing with changes. That's why rotating pace lines are hard to do, because every rider coming around forgets to slow down when they go in the slow lane to the right or left, whichever lane is the slower lane. They don't back off the pace enough.
So those are your racers. When you're in a race,
starts to go up.
Breakaway is actually, it's hard to get started, but once you're in the breakaway, it's steady, as opposed to being in the chase group. The chase group with all those changes is harder back there. So I much rather be in the breakaway going fast.
I think it
and
levels
steady.
for a bit, then it turns to the right, kicks up. So I'm keeping it right. Well, the speed says 31K, it's about 19 miles an hour. But I'm keeping the effort the same. You can see my heart rate has crept up now towards zone 4 because of the change in the grade.
Yeah, zone 4 for me is in the 170s. That's like race pace, 170 to like 180.
If you look at the power, it's staying in the low 2s, the mid 2s, like 250, thereabouts. I think I am over the steepest pitch because the power is coming down. And I'm going to keep shifting up to keep the effort the same. Now we begin the downhill. You'll see the speeds go up, but I keep the pace of the cadence the same. Range
I'm
wise,
just entering zone 4.
Up.
No, it's flipping.
My heart rate hits zone 4 now. I didn't realize we had gone this fast. That's nice. It felt really good here because we picked up a bunch of wind at this speed. We were just really, really moving. And it just cooled us off tremendously. That's Michael on the back. I was wondering who was back there. Michael is the rider sitting in the back. He's got a TT bar on that bike. I think it might be a time trial frame. So he's sitting at the back so he can rest on it. The road levels off before we go downhill again. So this highway is odd, and when we're coming the opposite way, we feel it. It comes down, it levels, then it goes down again. So when you come in the opposite way, you end up with like 3 different gradients of climbing when you're headed south. And you know, it just keeps changing on you. So it's not a climb that a lot of riders like. 2854, it's unusual. So the highway's in the distance. I think I've turned off. Yeah, I'm not even pedaling. There's a light at that intersection. And it's so sticky, you'll see my bottle fall. I didn't do anything differently than what I normally do. The bottle just drops out of my hand. Because all the condensation on the bottle and my hand, just watch. I reach for my bottle to take a drink, it hits the pavement. Oh, man. The good thing was the nozzle did not touch the ground, so it's just the side of the bottle and then it rolled. So I didn't have to worry about it, picking up germs.
Just sticky and steamy.
All the way to the lake to stop?
Yeah, Doug is asking, that's Doug Martin, he's asking me whether they want to go to the lake to stop as opposed to stopping at Taco Corner, which is about probably 3 kilometers up the road after this climb. And so he comes up to me and he tells me up there, he will ride up alongside me, and he would tell me that, hey, this is right up your alley because you don't like to stop that much. We're going to the lake before we stop. And I told him that's perfect. I said, because I still have a full bottle. And it's kind of early in the ride to stop. So, yeah. So from where they start out here is probably 20 kilometers. 16 miles, something like that.
Plus up to 13 or 14 and 16. 16 miles is 25 kilometers. So.
Nobody wanted to come to the front, so I just resumed what I was doing before. Same effort.
Yeah, that's a UCI sanction for bottle dropping.
Doing.
Yeah, that's funny.
In a little while, we'll let Paul get long out.
That thing, I don't know what happened at that
They're
corner.
playing on doing. I told them, let's ride with them because that will give us the kilometers we like to get. It's early in the morning yet. It's like 8:30 a.m. So
Yeah, this is the time of the
got
year
like
for your
4
lightest
hours
stuff,
to
your
get
lightest jerseys.
before we want to wrap up our ride.
We can feel the wind in our body. It's nice
Try
when
to
you
finish
finish
around noon thereabouts. Because by 1 p.m. it's very, very hot this time of year. Plus, we don't want to ride the whole day. Just the entire morning. We use the morning. Yeah, nobody wanted to pull, so I'm up there just riding
comfortable.
Nice little bump. I mean, it goes for a bit, and then it'll go a little to the left, but just keeping everybody together.
I'm sitting close to a sweet spot. We ended up working really hard on this ride because I spent a lot of time at the front. So I got a good workout, and everybody else got a good workout. Because when we would rotate, Paul would go, and the other guys. So it was a good ride.
That's Mike in the jersey with the Australian colors. I think that might be the flag. But he's got Australia on the jersey.
That's their team jersey. That's a national team jersey. They change it from time to time. The color scheme. That was very loud. That vehicle's exhaust was very loud and annoying. I don't believe people actually spend money on that. Doesn't even sound good.
So yeah, I mentioned that's not their flag. I think those colors. Let's see. I think it's like the team jersey or something. Some team jersey. Their flag is almost like the British flag with the Union Jack and 7 stars on the provinces.
Jeffrey, welcome, man. We're just getting to Taco Corner here. We did more filming on this ride. It was nice.
Yeah, I think it's their cycling, the teams, the Australian national team cycling jersey. I'm sure they vary it from year to year.
Yeah, sometimes they put yellow in the stripes.
That from one year.
I pull over to the right here so people can go by.
go ahead and pull off the front. We're approaching Taco Corner. I back off the power so people can kind of roll around. So what I was mentioning about the Australian national flag, the flag is like the Union Jack is that design that's on the British national flag. It's like a red, I don't know if it's a cross and an X. That's the Union Jack. So they use that on the Australian flag in the corner. And then they've got like, I think 7 stars on it. Something like that.
He took a shortcut.
Something to do with the unity of the 6 states and territories in their Commonwealth
Yeah, he
in
worked that.
Australia.
He got dropped there.
So the flag has
on the
meaning.
camera, you will see.
So that's one of the team jersey that this gentleman Mike has.
Okay.
From whatever season they sported that color aesthetic. They vary it. That's the cycling specific.
Is anybody on the other side?
This is a stop at the lake
I don't
house.
think.
Let's get a picture.
I don't think. That's Maurice.
Let's get a picture for Neville.
Yeah, Paul H wants to get a picture of Neville.
Legends, this is after our stop. We're headed north. We're headed northeasterly, mostly east right now. Heading towards Highway 830.
Yeah, Neville rides with us from time to time with Paul H and them, and he's in Spain. So Paul H wanted to get a picture. We took a group picture there. I just ran the camera a little bit, show a little bit of the lake. This is after we left there's a Shell station that's kind of like a boathouse. So this is Coode Cemetery Road. We're headed south now. And then in a few kilometers, we're going to go east on FM 830. I like FM 830 going in this direction. There's a lot of good suffering. The drivers were very patient this Saturday. On everywhere we went. It was very nice to see. The good thing about this day was every direction we had wind, and then going south, the southeasterly flow of the wind helped keep us somewhat cool. When you were moving, it was very pleasant. It was a nice day. When you stopped, then you felt the mugginess more than anything. See all the drivers, a couple of cars queued up behind. A little bit, he will swing by us. I think Mary is also back there. She was a little late getting out of the gate. She got caught at some light. When she caught up there, she told us she was delayed at some flashing light. All these roads are very local. They don't really go anywhere. If you go the opposite direction on this road, it dead ends to the lake. There's a lake back there. So the people on this road have a purpose. It's not this is a two-way. I got to meet him on this ride for the first time. That's Jerry. He's back there. That's Jerry that just swung by. KOM or something. Like I explained earlier, sometimes there's a KOM Jerry once, and he knows the group is headed in that direction. He will back off the pace, let the group go, and then do his KOM, which brings him back up to the group. This is FM 830. So the right, it goes to the lake that we just left. It's got some nice little bumps on it. Jerry and Greg, this is Greg here. Jerry and Greg ended up doing more kilometers than this group was doing. They decided to do more.
Yes, Mike. Yes, I see you keeping yourself away from that sun.
Yeah, I had some skin cancer, so I got to keep an eye on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Mike. This is where I found out that Mike had skin cancer because at the stop he put on more sunblock on his face, around the back of his neck, around his ears. He's trying to make sure he shields his skin. that he had some skin cancer, so he's keeping his eye on it. You don't have to wait till you get issues like that, but you have to protect your skin from the sun if you're going to be out in it on very high UV days.
Greg changed his wheel. Usually he would ride like a disc wheel. He's got a regular wheel
Fair
today
skin
in
or
front of me.
If you have blotchiness like I have on my head, then yeah. The dermatologist told me there's nothing going on. It's just that don't have prolonged exposure in that area. Your skin reacts to that. And you never know whether it will be cancerous or not. This part of 830 is going downhill. I'm staying fairly close because I know there are 2 climbs in the distance. I think I tried to get a shot of the climb long before we got to it so you could get a good perspective. So you don't need a lot of climbs in your area or very long climbs. Just do repeats on the ones that you do have if you want to improve your ability to tolerate that kind of effort. There's a lot of packed mud on here. It looks like some truck that's carrying dirt and dropped it. A lot of debris on the right, so I'm using the road right now. There's not a whole lot of other road users, so I just stay there. That's mine. You can see his face. It looks kind of ashy. That's the sunscreen that he put on. He added sunscreen at the boathouse. Mary had some. She was sharing with people. And then he's got his arm screens and then his long socks. Make sure those are breathable if you must wear them. You see the climb in the distance. That's the first one. There's another one after that. You can't see it right now. This begins to go up here. And it's a long drag. Keep my eye on the Paceline, especially when the effort picks up, because you have to decide whether you're going to close gaps.
Look at the watts climbing.
Gap opening right there.
See the watts climbing? Gaps there.
Because Greg chooses what effort he wants to put out, and then Doug likes to spin these little gears. At some point, you got to start pushing. You can't just be fanning a gear. You got to put some force in there. Paul H is up there putting down the hurt.
Paul H is hurting the group.
Paul H gets younger every year.
He gets younger every week.
Putting the hurt down, man. I was like, and this guy was hit by a car in January. He's like in his mid-70s, I think. And look at him. He's putting the hurt down, causing
Paul
gaps
is going to be 85
and
putting the hurt down.
here. So now we're going to go on the right. The wind's coming from our right and in front of us. I'm sitting on Paul's hip on the left here. So Paul, they started it and we just keep going. We're just keeping the effort steady. So Paul H is an inspiration to all of us.
Now look how Paul Ilunga is pedaling, and look at Michael.
That well when
Michael looks like he's laboring.
He is
You can't do that very long. Paul Ilunga looks very fluid.
Amazing.
Michael looked like he just
3 months
stomping.
after that incident. He was
So on a long climb, you got to read and watch your cake.
So, yeah, he is an inspiration in every aspect. This is the kind of ride that Paul Ilunga needed because he was off for like 4 weeks.
So that's another climb coming where you see that curve in the distance, and it's steeper than the one we just went over.
He was very motivated.
I really like this road. I like this direction.
We usually come the other way, so we're flying down from that
Shoulder is
direction.
nice and clean here.
Yeah,
If you get a shoulder like this, you see where we are? You don't want to be all the way by the grass.
It starts to go up here.
Where we are is good, about a foot, or even you can get in the middle of it, whatever works for you. I'm
And it's
gonna go
gonna
on his
stay
right. He's
steep.
gonna stay. You know, he's falling off a little bit, but he's gonna stay. I'm gonna stay on his right. And he rides back up to Mike now. There we go. So he's digging. Once I saw that he was digging, I did not go by. I just sat there. This climb is long. It says 3, more like 3.5 to 4 something. The display is not giving us what my head unit showed me. And it continues. We're still climbing. You can see everybody's body language. I think this is where I go by. So he's right on my wheel.
So I go by right by him,
not
and
lessening
I don't
now, so it's
pass
like
him. I just
2%.
kind of get on his side, give him a wheel.
it's
So
flattening
he's
out.
using my wheel now, and we're still together.
So we go and we seek out these kind of roads and these kind of climbs so that we don't have to push ourselves mentally. It will do it for you.
So I'm just entering zone 4 now as we finish the climb.
So
In a
when
little
you
bit, when you
I'm
work
going
on your
to show you, I'm
fitness,
gonna freeze the frame. This is what Michael has been doing all the time we've ever ridden with him. He takes too many chances. It's too reckless. Watch. Right here. Look, watch. You see that? He just starts to drift into the road. That car is there. He didn't even look. Look at that.
does that crap all the time.
I'm surprised he hasn't been hit by a car yet.
That's
Did
what I
it
told
again.
Paul. It's like you can't do that. You can't just move into traffic and you're on the shoulder. Look, he's doing it again on the corner. You can't do that. You have to look behind you before you move there.
So the drivers
don't
are
do
always
that.
blowing
He does
when he's
that
back
all the
there.
time. One time he rode with us, the cars kept honking at us. We couldn't figure out why. We were using the shoulder. He was behind us. But once he came to the front and he did it again, then we realized that's why. So if you're going to go out and ride often and take chances, that's like Russian roulette. It's just a matter of time. You are increasing your chances of mishap. So don't do that, please. And everybody's aware that he does that. I have, made comments to him. He just doesn't seem to care. It's just too reckless. It's like you don't own the road. The road is not closed to other traffic. You can't be in one spot and then move over. And even if the road were closed, what if another cyclist was there? You just drift left. You don't even check. That's just reckless and it's not necessary. No reason for that. So I just wanted to point that out because if you're going to ride a bike, you need to be safe. You're on the road, you're sharing it with other users. It's not something that's just for you. So it's really important that we all do our best to be safe when we're out there.
What I was saying was when your fitness is there, it takes a lot of work before you get into like your zone 4 and your zone 5 and all of that. That's the whole point about training. You raise the ceiling.
I'm not sure if he was tired or whatever, but it's not a one-time occurrence because we had just gone up that climb. Could be, but I don't know. He does it all the time. He's done it for all the years we've ridden with Team RR when he used to come there, And this is not Team RR. This is a splinter group that Paulie started near where he lives. And so he's riding with them. Probably the schedule is better, but the thing is, it doesn't matter who he rides with. He does that all the time. And even Mark had made a comment many years ago. He said, "Oh, that's Michael." Well, that's not cool. Let Michael know what he does is not cool. I don't want to see anybody get hit when I'm riding my bike. That ruins the ride for everyone. No driver necessarily wants to hit you either. They don't need that headache and guilt or whatever. So there's no reason to do what he does. I wouldn't do that in my car. I wouldn't change lanes without looking. So I don't know why he does it on the bike. So anyway, we're going to regroup off camera because the group has splintered on that climb. Paul has put the hammer down. He needed to recover after that. So they're back there. I think Paul H. I know Jerry is back there working on one KOM. And I believe Greg is back there. Then Mary got caught at one flashing light. So we are aware that the group is not 100% together. But the way we do it is we ride till we get to a good stopping point and then we can regroup. So this way everybody gets their workout. I think that's the way you should do in your group, because that way people get to have their fun, and then the people who are not as fit know that you're not abandoning them out there. You know, it builds a lot of camaraderie in a group. And it's just good to know where your mates are and everybody's okay. If they're fine, they'll tell you to go ahead and you go. But just keep that in mind. So once we get down, I think it's about 1 kilometer or so, there's an intersection in the distance. Once we get there, we decide, okay, let's find a spot to regroup. And, you know, the group was just a few seconds back, maybe 15, 20 seconds. It wasn't much of a wait. Sometimes you can just soft pedal and they'll catch back up. So I hope you got a chance to get your K's in this weekend. But this is part of what we did on Saturday. Keep those doctors fired.
Here's our El Capitan.
Thanks for joining us, guys.